YouTube team, welcome back to the Lancet podcast. Hope everyone's having a good start to their week, and welcome back to those on YouTube as well. It is my sixth video, I think. It's week 5 in the books, so week 6, 3 more weeks to go, guys. Today's session is going to be a little bit quicker because there isn't a huge amount to update from last week. It was a very, very straightforward week. I'm going to go through my data as usual. I'm going to go through some progress pictures as usual. I wanted to show you something on that, and stay to the end, guys, because I wanted to talk a little bit today about the compound effect and how slow fat loss compounds in either direction. So putting on fat or taking off fat, and how it can really, really put your mind at ease when you're looking at your weight fluctuating all over the place, or when you have a day off track and you think everything's ruined, to actually understand how quick or slow in this case this process actually is from a physiological point of view. Okay, so really, really important if you're someone at the moment who's worried about ruining your progress in December, especially as it comes towards Christmas. Okay, before we get into that, guys, just a quick announcement. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I released my Black Friday offer today. So that's going to be running until Friday night. Okay, so we have 10 spots available for this. It's all laid out in the post. So if you want to go on to Instagram, it's the last item Mike Finnegan on Instagram, and everything's laid out. If you have any interest in the offer, please reach out to me as quickly as possible. So we have 4 spots taken already from my email list. So those of you that are signed up to my email list, you would have got the email on Sunday, which basically give you the first preference to the offer. That was the guys who've been on my email list. So anyone now that wants to jump on within the next couple of days, please get on to me as quickly as you can, and we can have a conversation about it. As always with this, guys, this is just for people that are a good fits. So it's not a case of you reach out and you have to jump straight on. We can chat about it. We can see if it's for you. I can explain what's involved. If it is, we can have a call. We can talk through it. We can create a plan for you so you're set up for the new year. If not, that's totally cool. You'll at least get something out of the conversation. Anyway, so I just wanted to start with that. So, guys, let's get into this, right? I'm going to get straight into the data because I think it would be good to start there, and then we can chat a little bit about the fat loss after that, right? So, again, for those of you that are listening to the podcast, it would be worth jumping onto YouTube and giving this a look. My YouTube is linked in the show notes, so if you want to have a look at that, you can see it. So, just for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'll try to describe it the best I can for anyone on the podcast. So, we're through week 5, guys. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago where sometimes it looked like your weight's plateaued, but in actual fact, if you wait it out, you will see a drop all of a sudden, okay? Because weight and fat are not the same thing. So you'll see from my week 5, I hit a couple of new low weights. So on week 4, I think my low weight was like 73.5, and my average was like 73.8 throughout the whole week in week 4. Last week, my low weight was 72.7, and my average for the week was 73. Okay. So last week, I dropped 0.8 of a kg, which works out to be just under 2 pounds, right? The week before that, I can remember I said to you that it looked like my weight was plateauing a small bit. So we'll say I dropped a 0.8 of a kg last week. The week before that, I dropped 0.6 of a kg, which was 1.5 pounds nearly. The week before that, it looked like my weight had plateaued, but it hadn't. And then the week before that, I had dropped 1.1 kgs, which was nearly 3 pounds over the first week. Okay. So what you'll see here, right, is all my data is fairly consistent. Like last week, my calories were in around 2,100. My steps were in around 15,000. The week before that, my calories were 2,000. My steps were 14,000. The week before that, my calories were at 2,200. My steps were at 15,000. So there is much of a difference in terms of how many calories I've been eating and how many steps I've been getting. And then you can include my workouts and stuff in that, but they're all pretty much the same as well. So the point I'm trying to make is the week where my weight looked like it plateaued, you may think that something was wrong that week or something was off, but it wasn't. I was still losing body fat. It just hadn't shown on the scales. One of my clients today, he had messaged me and he'd had a really, really good week in terms of lots of exercise, lots of movement, really good on the calories. And he said in his check-in, he said that he was a little bit disappointed that he didn't see the payoff for the work he did last week. And now this client's been with me a while, and he knows better because he's sometimes our emotional brain can take over, especially when you're pushing for a certain goal. And because we're pushing for this 8 week challenge, he's kind of like in locked in mode where he kind of just wants to see the progress. And I get that because I'm like that as well. Like we always want to see like this linear progress. So I said it to him, I was like, how do you know you aren't losing body fat? And then he kind of caught himself. As like, yeah, I guess I don't, but I just wanted to see it in the scales. And I had to keep I have to keep reminding all my clients this always, right? Because we often, especially when we put in a good week, we almost feel we deserve to see weight drops. It should be a weight drop. And again, it's just something that's programmed into us from young, where we're like, we correlate progress to weight drop. But I really want to emphasize this, and anyone that's followed my podcast for a while will notice you can't depend on the weight going down every week. It doesn't mean you're not progressing. It just means it hasn't shown on the scales. Not to say that it won't. What I'm saying is it's not predictable in the short term. It can be predictable over the longer term for sure, right? And especially, I had a call with all my clients today, and I was talking to them about this. If you're someone who feels like you're in a calorie deficit, but you have a lot kind of going on externally as well. So you may be going out for drinks a few times. Maybe you've had a couple of dinners out. Maybe if you're a female, your menstrual cycle's coming into it. Maybe you got sick. All these things feed into weight fluctuations. Now, notice I said weight fluctuations. I didn't say stopping fat loss, right? Because if you're in a calorie deficit, even with all them things going on, you're still seeing progress underneath the hood if you're in a calorie deficit. But because there's so many other factors that go into your weight, especially around like menstrual cycle and eating out and alcohol, it just affects your water and bloating. If that's happening, you're going to be a little bit frustrated because you're going to see a lot of fluctuations within scales. One of my clients at the moment, she's got a lot on. She's been doing a lot of traveling. She had a holiday. She had a lot going on, but her weight has been up and down all around. And I said this to her, I was like, you're doing really well in terms of your mindset around scales. You haven't got fixated on it because she's been messaging me and she said, I'm feeling great. My clothes are feeling better in my body in general. And just, I'm happy to be doing the journey. And I was like, you know, it's great. It's great to look at it that way because a lot of people get so fixated on the scales fluctuating that they forget to look at the other things. But the important thing to note is if you're confident that you're doing the things, you're taking the boxes most of the time, you're in a calorie deficit, you're not taking the piss in terms of going over, then you're good. You're just literally just need to be patient with it, and the weight will eventually show on average. And this is happening with this client. There's a lot of fluctuations, a lot of ups and downs, but we're looking at the trend, and over the last few months, it's down. We're going downwards. So the body fat is dropping off. Okay, so not like I said, not a whole pile to say on the week, just that I've dropped another pound and a half. I'm around 73 kgs now. Ideally, this is where it's interesting. So I have 3 weeks left. I'm feeling pretty lean. I'm going to show you the progress pictures in a second. But ideally, I don't want to get too light either. So it's kind of like, I'd like to be around 70 kgs and feeling lean. Now, what's going to happen is I will get down to a low weight, which might be close to 71 point something, okay? And at the end of the diet, when I pull myself out of it, I'm going to refuel, basically meaning that I'm just going to eat more calories, more carbohydrates. There's going to be more water, more food volume in the stomach. So my walk around weight eventually will probably come back up to 72.5, 73. So it's funny, right? So this is an interesting one as well with range when it comes to weight. My low weight at the moment is around 72.7, right? So that's my low weight at the moment. Whereas my high weight, meaning that if I refueled with carbohydrates and water and basically refilled, my high weight might be around 74.5 or 70, 75 even potentially. Okay, so there could be like a 2 kg fluctuation there. So similarly, when I drop down to about 71 kgs, my low weight could be 71, but my high weight could be 73. And the interesting thing is that my high weight will look better than my low weight. And a lot of people don't get this, but when we're at our low weight, it means that basically all the carbohydrates, water, and everything is flushed out of the system, right? So it means that we're kind of like flat is what the bodybuilding community would use. It's when like you don't feel full, your muscles are a little bit flat, and you're kind of a little bit small in yourself, okay? But a lot of that is because the water makes up so much volume within our muscles, within our body in general. So water makes up so much of our body. So the water gives us a fuller look. It doesn't mean we're less lean, because the body fat is what dictates our leanness. But when we have carbs in the system and water in the system, basically we look fuller, meaning that we look shapely, right? So when I'm at my low weight, I might look kind of lean and even a small bit light, right? But then when I refuel at 73 at my high weight, I will actually look better and fuller. With a couple of gym sessions, I get a bit of a pump and it'll look good, right? Now, the interesting part here is I'm at my low weight now around 73. So I'll be at the same weight, but I'll look totally different because if my low weight is 73, that means when my high weight is 73, I'll have less body fat. So I hope you're with me with that. So I could be at the same weight, but look different. I look leaner at the weight that's high at 73 because that my low weight would then be 71. So you're comparing low weight to low weight and high weight to high weight, if that makes sense. That's why you always need to give yourself a range within that because that's just going to be water fluctuations. That's why when someone comes to me and they say, I thought I'd see more weight loss this week, I'm like, how do you know? Because we don't know, like you're still within your range. Okay. And how I always know if someone is in a calorie deficit is you see a new low weight every few weeks. If you're seeing new low weights every few weeks, you're golden. If you don't see a drop in a couple of weeks, then maybe you need to look at something. But like you definitely for females, probably 2 to 3 weeks you want to be waiting. But what happens is for a lot of people is they'll see a drop and then it'll just stay down there. And it could be a big drop. It could be 2 kgs overnight. That happens sometimes. But it doesn't mean that it happened overnight. It's been happening. It just hadn't shown because the water was in the system. So in terms of anything else in the week, I actually got back playing soccer, which was nice. I trained last Monday. I'm training it tonight, and we had a match on Saturday as well, which I played 70 minutes, and I actually felt pretty good. Happy with my performance, and maybe a little bit underfueled, but I wasn't sure if I was going to play the whole game, so I didn't like carb load too much. I had a higher calorie day; it was 2,500 calories, but on average for the week, it was still 2,100. I said this a few weeks ago, guys, but if you can stay consistent over the weekend for like a few consecutive weeks, that's when you're going to see your biggest progress. Because this is where most people will undo a bit of their work, or else they'll at least slow down their work. So by putting in the work and being really consistent for weekends for consecutive weeks, that's when things really speed up. It's not always easy, and sometimes you have to take into account that it's going to affect. If you want to be really locked in, it's going to affect your social life a little bit. It's going to affect what you can do as well. So you might have to be a little bit clever with it. I always recommend for my long-term clients, I always recommend a bit of flexibility. So with the weekends, I don't think they should be the exact same as during the week because it just makes things too hard. But that's not to say some weekends can't be a little bit tighter so that you can speed things up as well. But my last 2 or 3 weekends have been pretty much the same as my weekdays, which is why you can see the speed of my weight loss has ramped up a little bit to what it was. Okay, so other than that, 15,000 steps, a lot of that was from, I did a 5K run yesterday, but I also had a match on Friday, which was accounted for a lot of the steps. Trained last Monday, which accounted for a lot of steps. So my normal day of walking was probably about 13,000 steps, give or take. And then the other days were just added in from some exercise, okay? Got my 3 gym sessions in, which was happy about, feeling good. 4 gym sessions, sorry. Soccer training, soccer match. So that was basically for the week. There was nothing special about the week at all. Hunger levels haven't gone up too much either. I would say the hunger levels they're pretty consistent at the moment. And we've been eating pretty voluminous foods and pretty decent foods as well. But in general, the hunger hasn't really gone up, and it's been fine. So that's it, guys. Really, there's not much else to say in week 5. We've 3 weeks left. I'll see how we go. I potentially might need the 3 weeks. So I'm going to show you progress pictures now, right? Because again, week to week, and I talked about this a few weeks ago, where you're seeing a compound effect. Now, I'm seeing big differences this week. So you can see within the progress pictures, there's a lot of change in terms of my leanness. So the abs are coming through a lot more. I'm seeing around the chest a lot more definition, around the shoulders again, lower abdomen especially. This is where it always comes in last. I can see my obliques, which are the side of your abs. They're coming in an awful lot as well. So just to know, them pictures are taken the exact same lighting, under the exact same conditions, tensing the exact same. So they're very, very consistent. A lot of people will try and manipulate the pictures, but I'm always truthful with them. So that's pretty much where we're at with things. Now, something to say that's interesting on this. Now, okay, there's a nice difference, and it's 5 weeks, and I expect over the next 2 weeks it'll even look more pronounced because you'll always find as you get closer and closer to your kind of lower body fat levels, your like problem areas, if you want to call them that, start to come through more. So it look even more impressive as I go through the next couple of weeks, right? But something that was important, and I talked to my clients about this today, and I really wanted to bring it up, right? Even though there's a decent difference, that's 5 weeks of on it dieting. Like I've been, as you can see, a lot of activity, 14, 15,000 steps a week on average, soccer matches, soccer training, 4 gym sessions, some runs as well. I've got 2 or 3 runs in the process. Food, very consistent. I've been hitting in around 2,000, 2,200 calories, which is quite low for me. It's quite a big calorie deficit. I'm dropping at least a pound and a half of body fat a week. Okay, so if you multiply that out, that's 5 pounds, 7.5 pounds. I've lost about in the last 5 weeks, I've lost about 7.5, maybe to 9 pounds, anywhere in between there, I would say. Okay, so like that's what, 3/4 of a stone, a half a stone to 3/4 of a stone. So I wanted to say this to show you that it takes a long time before you start to notice it on your body, because body fat comes off all over. So I've lost 9 pounds. Let's say it's 9 pounds, right? So it's come off everywhere. It's come off my face, shoulders, arms, stomach, chest, arse, thighs, everything. Okay, so it's come off all over. That's why you don't see it so like visually straight away, because that weight is coming off all over, and it's quite a slow process. Just think about this, right? If our body was like literally to just drop loads of body fat, like within a week or two, it would be very, very detrimental to our survival, because our body fat is basically our energy reserve. So that's our survival reserve. If we don't have that, we start to eat into our organs, and then we're going to die, right? So it needs to be efficient. It doesn't want to be dropping body fat really quickly, okay? So it happens slowly, even when I'm on it. So that's 5 weeks of on it dieting to compound to that effect. So it's not, it's good. You can see it, but it's not like, oh my God, it's drastic, right? So you can see in the opposite direction how this would be the same thing. And people think, no, if I look at food, I put on weight. But people get so fixated on how they feel and weight that they assume they've undone everything. So, for example, let's just say I have a big binge out tomorrow and the weight hikes up 4 pounds, which is very feasible. It could easily happen, especially because I'm at a low weight at the moment, right? And then I feel bloated because like I've just got a lot of food in the stomach and I feel bloated. And then I look in the mirror and I convince myself that I've put on loads of body fat and I've ruined all my results. That's a feeling. It's not factual. Our body works in both directions at the same speed. So even though you think you're going to put on loads of body fat overnight, you will not. What happens, and the biggest problem with people, is when you feel like you've ruined it, you feel like it's undone, you feel shame of overeating, you then decide you have failed. And then that's when the problems start to creep in, because you start to overeat, or else you at least stop doing the things that were actually working for you, and you start to go in the opposite direction. So this is obviously a big problem, because your consistency stops and then you start to go backwards. And now I've said this to so many people this week alone. You don't put on body fat and weight in one period. People think, oh, the holiday, I put on loads of weight in the holiday. You don't, right? You accumulate it over time slowly, and then you come to a point where you're like, you've a stone and a half gained. And you always think you put it on, oh, I put that on there over the last few weeks. It's like you didn't. You put it on over months and months and months, and it was coming on slowly. There was a lot of days where you're probably at maintenance, and then you had a weekend and you went over, you're in a surplus. And then you maybe went on a holiday. Then you had another night out, and then so on. So you were in a surplus maintenance, maybe even a deficit some days. But on the net, you were in a surplus, and it crept on over time. And this is a really important point, because if you learn to understand that this is a slow process, when you have a slip or a sickness or Christmas is coming up, you're going to have a December where it's not going to be perfect, you can learn to accept that you haven't drastically undone progress. A year's worth of fitness progress isn't going to be undone in a week. Okay, so you can calm down around it. But when you're calmer about it, you can also make better decisions. And I had a call with my group today, and we were talking about how we were going to balance the upcoming events that happen leading into Christmas. And I talked to them about how we don't need to be progressing in December. If you want to progress, for sure. But like, even if we progress slowly or don't progress at all, it's okay because we zoom out and we look at the whole year as the process. So how many months of the year have actually been progressive? So some months might have been regressed, or regressive, if that's even a word. Some months might have been just a maintenance, and then other months would have been progressive. So on the net balance, we want to look over the month and say, or over the year and say, that was a very progressive year. But that doesn't mean we have to have every week and every month has to be progressive. And I was actually writing a post today, and it was something that came to mind. I was like, if you lose £1 every month for the next 12 months for next year, you've lost nearly a stone. And some people will say that's slow, and it probably is because you can lose faster with the right approach and the right help. But it's still a lot further on than most people actually are and have planned to be this year. So I did a funny video or funny like little meme that I'll be posting later, but it was like the caption was, my goal for this year was to drop 20 pounds. It's December and I've only got 30 pounds to go. And that's where most people are at. Like you start with the big goal at the start of the year. I'm gonna lose 20 pounds, but then you come to December and you've actually gone backwards. But at the start, if I'd said to you, oh, how about we lose a pound a month, and you're 12 pounds down by the end of the year, you'd be like, no, that's way too slow. But that's where most people go wrong. And again, it's not to say you can't lose faster because the average weight loss for our clients in our community is about a stone and a half in 3 months. So that's not even drastically changing anything. That's not even with doing anything extreme. That's just basic stuff done consistently well. That's the average we see. So you can do it faster. But the point I'm making here is if you can actually just calm down and actually take it at a pace that suits, some months you'll be going faster, some months you'll be going slower, then you can learn to just keep moving forward because at least that way you get there. And it's faster than moving fast and then regressing, moving fast and regressing. It seems illogical to go slower in some ways because you're like, it's slower, but it's not slower, it's actually faster because it gets you there. Whereas something that doesn't get you there isn't faster. It's slower because by definition you're not actually there, so it's slower. Tortoise are the hare. So I just wanted to make that point to you guys, and hopefully that's kind of opened your eyes to coming into the Christmas December period. It's small things that will make a big difference, and you won't put on loads of body fat by going out for a few drinks or having Christmas dinner or having a few nights out, a few meals out, of whatever, eating too many celebrations. You don't put on that much. The max you put on is a few pounds. I just quickly going to read out something for you. My client Lorraine, who a year today signed up. She actually signed up in the last Black Friday offer, and she sent me a post this morning, and it inspired a lot of the content that I actually wrote today. But she's been with me 1 year now, right? And she sent me this post saying basically she lost 60 pounds in the last year. Okay, now her goal overall is to lose 100 pounds. Her initial goal was to lose 50 to 60. So she said her initial goal in the year. Okay, so that's good going. That's good going in a year. It sure is, right? Now, not everyone is going to lose 60 pounds in a year. Okay, so everyone's circumstances are a bit different, but this is what we did, right? Now, within this year, she had these events come up. So I'm quickly going to rhyme them off to you, right? She went to Mexico for 2 weeks. She had a 7-night cruise. She went to Port Rush for 3 nights. She went to Brighton for 2 nights. She went to London for 3 overnight trips. She had 1 gin tasting night. She had 3 boozy pub quizzes, 2 Christmas nights out, Christmas and New Year celebrations. That was last year. She had 12 lunches and Sunday lunches out, 10 dinners out, 6 brunches, 2 work nights out, 2 gala balls, 3 theatre and drink evenings, 3 theatre day trips with lunch and drinks, 2 pizza and pottery nights, a murder mystery dinner, 2 dinners and drinks with the girls, wine and canopy night, 3 cinema and snack evenings. And she said that's only the stuff that she actually could remember. So within our program, we always track stuff. So weekly, she has like a little data sheet that she'll just put in if she had a night out or if she had something come up, just so that I can see it as her coach and I can give her some feedback on a week. So she went back over her year and she just said, okay, how many things had I on? And something interesting at the end of it, she basically said, any one of these things would have derailed me completely before. She would have seen her holiday or her cruise as the end point of her diet, and that would have sent her spiraling. She came back from her holiday to Mexico. I think she was like 8 or 9 pounds heavier on the scales. And we know that a lot of this is water weight, right? So she said, oh yeah, absolutely, water weight. So she put her head down for 3 or 4 days, just got back to her normal habits without anything extreme. And she lost, I think, 5 or 6 pounds within them days. So she actually gained 2 or 3 pounds on her 2 week holiday to Mexico. And I said to her, I was like, isn't that amazing? 2 or 3 pounds within like an all-inclusive holiday, basically, for 2 weeks. And she's like, yeah. And now beyond, she's literally got back into her normal life, and she's beyond where she was before she left. Now, again, I'm telling this story to highlight to you that nothing breaks for a night out or a week or even a month where you're a little bit off track. The problem comes when you go off track and then use that as an excuse to spiral. It's kind of like, well, I'm in it now, so I may as well just take the piss, binge, binge, binge. And then it takes you so much effort to actually try to turn it around. And you don't even want to deal with it until you get to the point where you're in so much pain that you're like, I need to do something again. So nothing ever breaks. So again, compounding effect, guys. I said this about my diet. I've spent 5 weeks just compounding fat loss. All right. It's taken time, and 8 weeks I'll have some good progress, but it still took time. And I won't see drastic changes. I'll see good changes, but not drastic changes. So it happens in both directions. And my Christmas, I'll overeat and I'm going to be loose, but I'll come back after Christmas and maybe, okay, let's just say I have lost 10 pounds by the end of this, maybe more, maybe 12 pounds by the end of this. I'll come back after Christmas and maybe I'll have put on 3 pounds again of actual body fat, if that. And it's easy to even like negate that, because over Christmas, if I decide just to stay active, my movement, gym, eat decently well in between overeating, then I mightn't even be 3 pounds, it might be less. It depends. I'll see what the mood strikes me, but there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good over Christmas either. That's a conversation for another day. Okay, guys, that's basically all I wanted to talk you through today. Hope the session helped. There wasn't a whole while to update you on in terms of the progress. In the next couple of weeks, basically we have 3 more YouTube videos to go through. I'm going to basically do a roundup of the whole 8 weeks by the end of this. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to give you some data on some of the clients that are doing the 8 week challenge at the moment, because they're absolutely flying. I haven't even calculated right now how much people have lost over the last 5 weeks, but it's been an awful lot, because people have just been locked in, and it's been simple plans that we've done consistently. So I'm going to give you an idea of how they actually did that as well, and how they processed it through. Okay, guys, that's me. Hope you enjoyed the video. As always, please like the video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or any thoughts on anything, let me know. Black Friday deal runs until this Friday midnight. And like I said, if you have any questions or inquiries about that, reach out to me on Instagram.